Well, hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Dance Studio Network podcast. It's been an exciting 2022, and we wrapped it up, and we are ready to kick off this beautiful new 2023 year. Lots of things to discover, to explore, and so let's go ahead and jump on in. And joining me today is a lovely, talented, wonderful person near and dear in my life, my sister. Go ahead and tell them your name.
Nicole Chatham.
That's right, Nicole Chatham. So cool history. We got to grow up together, and I got to actually watch you grow up in the dance studio. So let's kind of start there. You know, when did you start dancing? Because this is always I love with a shocker. When did you really start getting serious about dance?
Yeah. So I actually started dancing at the age of 10, which most dancers would consider to be a little bit of a later start. You know, you hear the stories of people starting when they're 3 and 4, and I love those stories, but that just didn't happen to be mine.
Yeah.
I came across dance later on and fell in love with it. And my life has changed ever since that point. Nothing has been the same in a really positive way. So started dancing at 10. I fell in love with it, and I'm a very driven person. So I'm like, I love this. Like, I want to compete. I want to do stuff with this. So I kind of took off from there and grew up in the studios. So got to see my big brother all the time and take class. And it was a wonderful experience. So when the studios first opened, I jumped into pretty much about every class that I could. I was there all the time, training after school, and then I would go home and watch dance videos and just continue to be as immersed as possible. So,
well, you know, and it's fun because if you've ever danced with Nicole or been around her, it comes out so effortless, and it really looks natural. And so when I talk to adults or parents, and they're like, "Man, she's just so gifted," and I was like, "Well, she crafted that gift."
Took some time.
And I remember when you started, it didn't feel natural.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't just come to you immediately.
Yeah.
It was something that, 1, you had to fall in love with, and 2, work hard at it, and 3, make it look as if you've been doing it your whole life,
Yeah, totally.
with ease. So
yeah, that's the beauty of dance, especially really, talented dancers, they can make their dancing look effortless, but really only dancers really know how much work goes behind the scenes and how hard, you have to work and prepare and train for, to look that effortless. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then, we watched you grow, and then, you want to kind of lead us through your late teen years of how your seriousness in dance took off and where you danced at.
So I think for me, once I really kind of fell in love with dance, I kind of hit the ground running, and I loved being a part of our competition teams. So, I was not only performing at our end of the year recitals and our fun, events throughout the year, but I loved competing, and I loved working with the team and kind of getting to bring our art and the dances we've been working so hard on to, our communities, which was really cool. So I was doing competitive dance all the way through high school. And during high school, it was my sophomore year, I got accepted into Booker T. Washington, which is a performing arts high school in Dallas, and had an absolutely wonderful time there. Was able to really continue to work on my craft in school now, where I was dancing all the time and performing with my ensemble and working with guest artists from across the country, as well as, I'd come home and then continue training at the studio too. So it just really...
It's a pretty active lifestyle.
Escalated from there,
yeah. Well, and it's neat because, again, from being your big brother, I got to watch the progression, and so I always love a dancer's journey when you see where they start and where they're at now. Yeah. And, the goal of this podcast, is really let's peel back the layers. Let's help people understand the joy of the journey of arriving to some beautiful destinations, but not being, caught up on, well, once I'll be at that point, then I'll be happy. Because that is elusive, right?
Totally.
And can you want to share a little bit of what that's been like for you?
I think about this a lot because... I, like many other dancers, when you fall in love with something, sometimes it's very consuming. You're thinking about it all the time. You want to do it all the time. And it's such a powerful thing, but it's also really important to recognize how to find that balance in your life and how to enjoy the journey. I feel like I talk about this with you and you understand that, to get to a certain point, yes, you have to have forward thinking. You have to plan. You have to prepare. And with dance, you have to continue to train. You have to continue to work hard. But along that way, you got to stay in the moment. And I think that is where I found the most joy in some of my memories looking back is when I was really just fully in the moment, fully in the present, and enjoying what I was doing. You know, I think like you can have lots of goals in dance and those are important, but like you gotta remember your love for it and why you're doing it. And I think, you know, you'll get to your end goals eventually.
Yeah.
but you know, along the way you want to enjoy it, you know, to that point.
Because it's like there's this kind of incessant need to want to rush to get there.
Yes.
And, you know, the way I look at it is, you know, you can either spike your growth upward, but it's very quickly to come down if it's not sustainable. And those who kind of step their way up little by little, year over year, all of a sudden, you know, 5-6 years down the road, you're like, oh my God, where did this dancer come from?
Yeah.
And it really was just simple mechanics being executed day in and day out on a simple basis. But as you grow, the maturity in your performance and your technique and just your ability to lead others within a dance, like so much takes place. And that takes years to get there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's neat to hear this because, you know, we really want to edify our dancers, lift them up and encourage them to look at yourself in a positive way. You know, if you're on a journey, enjoy where it's leading. And, you know, our message is discover the artist within, not, you know, hammer the artist within, you know, like you want to find it. It's got to be a real fluid experience because, you know, you may start in ballet and you may go towards hip hop and jazz or contemporary.
Well, and for me, I mean, when I first started dance, when I was, you know, really young, when I first started, like when I was 10, all I wanted to do was hip hop. And if you know me now, I mean, I love everything. I love contemporary. I love jazz. I love ballet, you know, and I had no idea knowing that going into dance. But what was so cool is dance offers something that's so unique in something that provides, you know, athleticism, but also artistry. And what's so cool is when you really discover that artist within, sometimes that artist within will take you down many different paths, you know? So it's cool. It's cool.
Well, and that's good, you know, so parents, you know, we encourage you to like partner with your student as they discover their, you know, journey of what they're being pulled towards. Because like you said, it is easy to get kind of stuck on like, well, I need to be here. Instead, let the journey unveil itself. And that's what makes dance so unique from different than other athletic sports where it's very rigid. This is the exact result we want out of you. Practice, exactly the same way, where dance is so much more expressionism. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Well, and you know, with dance, like, I think, you know, so I'm definitely a recovering perfectionist.
I love that. Hold on, recovering perfectionist. Anybody out there? You can throw your hands up. It's all good.
Yeah, definitely very hard on myself. And I think sometimes, you know, what's interesting about dance, you know, is we train and we work so hard to have a certain aesthetic come on, you know, stage, you know, whatever your style is you're performing, you know, you have different technique for each dance and you want to make sure you can hit those pirouettes and you can, you know, make sure you're on time with everybody. And, you know, that's super important with dance, but really you're still a human and not one performance is going to be the same as the next. And it's important to let your expression and your love for dance come through because there's always going to be little things to work on and to keep continuing to refine. And honestly, someone very near and dear to me, my brother, happens to be sitting across this table, who gave me some really good advice when I was talking with him just the other day, and I really thought about that and how it relates to dance. And you talked about something along the lines of, you know, your decisions and the things that you do in your life can define you or refine you. And I think that is such a valuable piece of advice that you've given me because, you know, it's easy in dance, you know, you make a mistake or something happens and it's so easy for dancers to get hard on themselves and to immediately think, oh man, like I'm just not able to do this. I'm just not cut out for this. Or, you know, oh, maybe I'll never get that, you know, and you start to limit yourself so quickly and you define yourself based off of that mistake or that moment. And I really think you've challenged me with this idea. And also I want to challenge other dancers out there to not let your mistakes define you, but to let them refine you. You know, dance is, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly growing, you know, you're going to learn from that, you know. How do you take those mistakes or those moments where you're like, this is really driving me crazy. Like I really want to get this one, you know, step or this one movement. How can I have that push me forward and refine me as a person, because you're going to continue to grow. And I think, you know, if you can reach out to your teachers and if you ask questions in class, you know, there's ways that you can engage more to enhance your learning so that you can grow and can achieve those goals and you don't feel like they're so far away, you know? So I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give is to connect with your teachers and say, hey, like, this is a goal that I really want to achieve. Like, what are some things I can do at home to continue to work on this? You know, what would you like out of me more in class? You know, what are some things that, you know, I can do to help to get that point,
like,
you know?
learning how to advocate for yourself is really an important skill.
Yeah.
Because dance is such a kaleidoscope of experiences, and everybody's on a different story, right? Yeah. Some are pursuing, you know, ballet, going towards point. Others, like you said, towards more hip hop, more funk, more, you know, improvisation. And then you go down the line. So it's like, I say this over and over, never compare yourself to a dancer next to you. You know, especially. Totally. But if you can learn to advocate for the goals that you're hungry for. Yeah. You know, teachers, oh my God, they love that. Yeah. Like when you walk up to a teacher, right? And they're like, you know what? Like, I really want to learn XYZ, you know? And the teacher's just like, oh yes, finally, I know that you want it. So now I can pour into you. Totally. And you're ready to receive. And it's kind of like, you know, as dance educators, you don't want to, you know, keep pouring into a cup that's already full, and you know, you run the risk of making a mess. Exactly. And most dancers that I see that, you know, if they overdo it, they're pushing themselves too hard instead of allowing the time and the space you need to really grow. And then it's kind of like you're ready to receive that next nugget of wisdom in dance, or that next technique, or whatever it is that's kind of set on your heart to achieve. So
well, it creates a really special dynamic in the class when students are involved and engaged, but they're also patient with their progress too, you know? You know, because dance is not something that's just easy. You can just get overnight, you know? As much as we all wish it was sometimes, it just takes that time.
You watch on TV and it's like, oh, these guys make it look so easy. And then you get in class and you're like, my arms are not doing what they're supposed to do, you know? Like it's like, I watch the courage it takes to overcome, you know, those early mistakes. Yeah. And you know, staying uncomfortable is a good thing, you know, because you're constantly, like you said, you're being refined. And you know, the hardest part I see sometimes is when a dancer, you know, comes to the end of a competition or an experience, and then they're looking at, oh, I coulda, shoulda, woulda done this better. Yeah. Instead of, like you said, you know, did you enjoy the moment? Yeah. Like, did you really take in time on the stage to look at all these people who are here to support you? Yeah. You know, appreciative.
What are things you did well?
Exactly.
You know, like the good things that you know, like that you performed well and you know, excelled in.
And really, like, you know, these last few years have been kind of challenging around the world, if you hadn't noticed, you know. So keeping that positive mental health is a really big part of, you know, what we want to infuse in our dancers. And obviously, you know, you've grown up as a dancer and now you are a dance teacher. So like, kind of walk us through that transition a little bit of what that's like for someone to go from like having things created for them to being the creator of those things.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, it's really a cool experience being kind of on the other side. I, you know, always loved choreographing, even at a young age. Before I even started dancing, like I was making up routines and stuff for the neighborhood. And then we always are like, well, why didn't we think of this sooner? You know, but it's funny that part of dance has always been really in me. I love to create and see how other dancers interpret movement and how they perform it and what they get out of something. It's just really interesting. I mean, it's such a cool form of communication. Yeah. So transitioning from like all my dance training and performing and, you know, it through college where I was a dance major and, you know, now in the classroom and seeing these students, I think one of the biggest things that I would love to tell students is to believe in yourself. And it sounds so like, you know,
sounds like cliche.
I know, like you hear that all the time, but a lot of times students hold themselves back. And I know that I, like as a young student, would do that sometimes. It kind of goes to that thing of like, oh, you know, like I want to get something, but maybe I'm a little afraid to try it because I might look silly or I'm not going to get it right. And I think the more that you put yourself out there and you say, okay, you know, maybe I don't have this step right now. Okay. Maybe it's not where it needs to be right now, but with time, I will achieve it. You know, you change your mindset from, oh, I can't do this now, and that means I can't do it, to, okay, I can't do this right now, but with enough time and enough work, I will be able to. Yeah. And I think that's something I try to like work with dancers on understanding, like, hey, it's you know, it's a part of your journey to go through these different seasons. And, you know, no season in dance is going to be the same. You know, you have different competition, you know, seasons with, you know, different dances you're performing each year, you know, recital. I mean, all of our events throughout the community, it's always changing. So, you know, staying present is one of the best things I can say. And also, you know, having some goals for yourself, you know, that kind of keep you like not just connected to your goal, but to your why. Like, why do I do this? Why am I doing this? You know, is it because I feel like I have to, or we feel like I have to, you know, achieve something?
This like pressure that's coming on you, or
you know that, or is it because,
pressure?
like I said earlier, you know, you really love it? You love to express, you love to connect with your peers in class, you love to encourage and motivate and inspire other people. And you know, like sometimes you go on stage and like, yes, you've got dancers in the audience and teachers in the audience, but you also have a lot of people who maybe are friends and family who've never danced before. And you know, as a dancer, it's awesome to work on your craft, you know, with your technique, but your artistry and your humanity when you perform is what connects you to, you know, the audience and to somebody who goes, oh, wow, like maybe I didn't understand this, but that really made me feel something, you know, which is cool. And that takes time. I mean, when you're young, you're working on, you know, learning how to do it, you know, perform and have that confidence, and that just grows from year to year. And so I think just keeping a good steady pace, but to stay consistent is something
you know, it's fun is to be able to watch from kind of like a 30,000 foot view is when I watch dances, I typically can know which choreographer has done those dances. And I look at it as you leave a fingerprint behind on the people that you inspire and you teach. And you as a dancer leave a fingerprint of your expression of that said story. So if you're dancing to, you know, a competition piece or a performance piece, you just gotta make it your own. And own it.
Oh my goodness.
So, and when you do, it's with you for life. Because how many times does a song come on 5, 10, 15 years later and you're like, oh my God, I still remember this piece. Right? And I mean, what's that one like Butterfly song? Oh my gosh. You did a solo too. I think you were like, what, 15? 14?
Oh, it was Wings by Little Mix.
There you go.
And jazz piece. I remember it with my little white costume on stage. Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, that was like,
so funny.
What? How many years ago was it? How old were you when you did that one? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, I had to be like 8th grade.
8th grade. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Welcome to the time. The time is just moving faster and faster. But but that's precisely my point. Is like that song is forever ingrained in me. I think of you whenever I hear that song, or like things come on the radio, I'm on Spotify, and all of a sudden it's like that it comes across, and all I can think of you is that white costume and you dancing across that stage and how it felt to be in the room when you performed it. And same goes with so many dancers across our studios man, I see them now like 8 to 10 years later, and I'm like,
so cool.
Oh my God, I remember when you did this, or I remember when you did that song, I remember that hip hop piece, and it's powerful.
It's so powerful. I think, you know, I'm a bit biased because I love dance, but there are so many skills and so many things that you learn from dance that, you know, whether you continue forward with dance as your career or you take it in a different way, like those things stay with you, you know, and, you know, one thing especially I've talked about before is like the confidence that you develop in dance is really unique because you are performing, you know, like either with a team or by yourself or duet or whatever the case is, but you're still putting yourself out on a stage, and there's, you know, and it's an art form. It's not like I'm just playing a game, you know, it's something that I'm presenting. And so there's a totally different level of like, wow, like, okay, there's some new things I'm going to have to face. And, but it's so cool because I think about that with like skills and things that's helped me with in school, and being confident in having a voice, not only in the dance classroom, but in other settings and classrooms as well, you know, and developing that, you know, artistically gives you that confidence to go, okay, like I'm owning this dance, like I got it, and like, okay, I can do that with other things in my life too, which is
it becomes
cool.
a life skill.
It does.
And it's fun when I watch, you know, parents begin to discover this understanding. Because there's very few things in life that you can say really is applicable to the next stage of your life. They're building blocks. But the way I look at dance is it's such a creative outlet to teach you to have courage to present yourself, your expression, your, you know, who you are as a person in the middle of a moment. And as a growing adult, what do you do when you go present yourself to a future employer to get a job? You have to choreograph your resume, what you're going to say, how you're going to do it. And you get in a room and you face a judge, which is your employer. And then you're presenting kind of your expression and saying like, look, I know I have value and I want to bring it to the table and add to this company. And if they don't see you as that value that they're looking for, well, guess what? You're still valuable.
Yeah.
But you go back and you re-choreograph and you find the next, company or next opportunity and you present again and then watch what happens. Yeah. And so like that life skill greatly connects from youth into late teen to young adult. And that's what's really fun to watch is like, if you have the courage to walk in a room, give strong eye contact, present your case, if you will, and, let them know what you have to offer, like they're going to feel that. And because you've been dancing for so long, learning how to make people feel things when you get on stage, the same thing can go for like your body language and how you present yourself from a peer-to-peer or from a peer-to-employer experience.
Totally. And I think, along that, you're entering a room and you're causing a room to change, or you're, impacting people in a really cool way. I think that's something I also want to really encourage dancers is to think about, not only what can you gain from your teachers and from your experiences, but what can you bring, like what can you bring to the table? What can you do in your classroom that changes how, your peers, think about dance, or when we come into dance, oh, I love going to this class because I know it's going to be an encouraging environment. We're going to cheer for each other. We're going to like encourage each other. We're going to like give voice to those. It changes the whole environment of the room, and it changes, people's experience. And so I think as a dancer, not only is it our responsibility to learn and to be open-minded and to take in information, but it's also our responsibility to be able to create positive change in our environments where we go. And we have the ability to do that. We just have to develop our voice. In that.
No, I love it. I mean, I think this is the depth, that dance can lead you through. Yeah. And this is what we want people to understand is like, we don't take lightly when you come into a studio. We're not here babysitting. We're here mentoring. We're imparting our lives into your kids. Yeah. And we want the best parts that we have to give for them to grab hold of it and run with it and become their own. And that is, I think, a fundamental that's missing in a lot of extracurriculars today. Yeah. Everybody's got goals. Yeah. Great teams, great success everywhere you go. But when you peel back the layers and you go, how much of that success was forced to get there in a way, you know what I mean? Versus like discovered how to be successful or become a champion by not saying, well, I'm only going to be happy if I only win, right? Yeah, exactly. I'm only happy if I get first place. I'm only happy if I reach this thing.
Yeah, because that doesn't teach you the lessons that you need to learn,
Exactly.
like to move forward, like if you only ever won, you don't know what it feels like to, oh man, like I know I could have performed better, I'll keep working harder. And then you actually, surpass your goals, with that drive or that motivation or just enjoying it too, like it's a balance of what you make of it. Whatever you want, you can create it. But I think it's recognizing that, okay, like you have the power in the situation to recognize or to say, okay, this is what I want from dance, but I also want to keep my passion and love for it alive.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, it's fuel for me. Yeah. Like over the years, I've been told I can't do this, I can't do that. Pretty much every area of my life, what I'm doing successfully now, I've had people that even close to me that I thought would be encouragers were doubters and disbelievers. So like, if I leaned on the people around to be my reason or my, my support only, I probably been pretty let down, And
I mean, it's just human nature,
and it's okay for people to, question or wonder or doubt, but like you have to be founded in yourself, kind of like what you said.
Developing that inner strength and that, resilience,
Yes.
to like, okay, like I'm going to keep going. And so that's so important.
Let me ask you then, okay, so you try out, you audition for a role and you don't get it. There's two ways people can go with this. Walk me through from your experience.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, there's kind of like I beat myself up, or I go back to the table and I go, okay, I gotta work on this.
Yeah, and I think definitely. So there's like you said, there's a couple ways you can kind of go about how you receive that information. No one really likes rejection, but it's not necessarily rejection unless you take it that way. Really, what it is it's that saying, it's redirection.
Ooh.
So like something doesn't work out how you planned, that's okay. How do you move forward? How do you bounce back from that? So, I've been in those situations myself when I've been really hard on myself and down, and I get and it's just normal. It's normal to do that, but it doesn't really produce any like major results Whereas if I say, okay, you know what, Nicole, it's all right. Maybe it's just not that time right now.
It's a redirection.
Redirection, like to kind of go back, like you said before, and kind of re-choreograph. Like, how am I going to, attempt this going forward,
Mm-hmm. I think that's amazing. I would say that's kind of, that'd probably be your golden nugget today. Yeah. So if you hear this, ladies and gentlemen, when you don't get what it is you're looking for, it's not rejection, it's redirection. Mm-hmm. And that is a positive mindset to hold that will provide that fuel to get you to that next place.
Absolutely.
So I love that. That is really good, because that is a hard thing to overcome as a young teen. Mm-hmm. Because it does. If you don't get your way,
man, yeah.
Like they didn't like me, and it's like, no, maybe that's not at all. Maybe it's just not the right fit for
that time.
Hundreds of different reasons.
There can be and that's the thing with dance. There's so many moving parts and pieces to putting together productions or putting together choreography or routine. So the best thing that you can do is not to get super hard on yourself that way, but just to look at like, okay, what are my strengths? What can I highlight? And what are my weaknesses? Okay, what do I need to work on? Yeah. And how do you present the best version of you? And I think that's really,
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Gosh. Wow. Well, I think this is great. These are great aspects to consider as we move forward into this new year. This is the time everybody's setting those New Year resolutions and perspectives or goals or things that they're passionate about. Get founded in it, right? Like get certain that, when that day doesn't feel good, you don't deviate from what you believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Because, you're never going to get every day to feel like it's the best day you've ever had. If you do, please call me and let me know how you got there. But, that's normal. Yeah. And I think these are things students need to understand, as well as parents, that the process, if you're committed to the process, it's going to transform you, slowly. And the days that are uncomfortable sometimes are the days where most of your growth will happen.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And the days where you win might be the days that you can reflect on all the hard work it took to get there.
Yeah.
And that's another reason to celebrate. And the days that you failed are days to go, guess what?
Yeah.
You cannot stop me. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to show you what I'm made of.
Yeah.
And I remember, one competition, I watched one of our groups. We had a girl, she slipped right in the middle of the dance, and you could just feel the energy in the room. She got up and danced her heart out that whole number.
Yeah.
And it ended up costing points. He didn't rank in the highest percentage. And I was very curious to see what the next competition was going to bring, because the resilience I saw in this dancer was powerful. She got up and she brushed it off like it was nothing. That's awesome. And what was really neat was the next competition, they ended up winning first overall.
That's so cool.
And it was like, you could go to that point and go like, wow, like look how amazing.
Yeah.
But then you need to also look at, this is the same, dancer who slipped on the stage and how embarrassing or frustrating that could feel.
Yeah.
And she made a choice to either get up and keep going, or to sit down and just quit, and I love when I see dancers overcome adversity and then, they achieve some success out of, an uncomfortable moment.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I think in today's social media world, we all want to present the best versions of ourselves.
Yep,
We're
and
perfect
dance on
and
stage
amazing.
is real time.
It's real time. Yeah, there's no editing that.
Yeah.
There's no filters you get to put on there. Like this is what you got. This is what you have to offer.
Yeah.
And
that's what's so beautiful about it and so unique in our world nowadays, that you see tons of dance on media and TikToks, and it's so fun. Yeah. But when you're, going to a live performance, or you're, just dancing and practicing in class, you really, you kind of recognize like, oh wow, like this is different.
The show must go on, as they say, and they say that for a reason, because there's always bound to be something wild that can happen, or detract you, or distract you, or a costume rips, a button falls off, a headpiece flows, and like there's always something.
Yeah.
And learning to adapt in real time is such a phenomenal life skill for not only dance, but everything you do.
Absolutely.
Especially look in the workforce right now, all the job disruptions, all the people, looking for different places to work for, shortages in staff. Well, all those other team members have to adapt to the situation. Yeah. And when you have that type of life skill, like you'll be successful in every area, whether it's your studies, whether it's your employment, whether it's your craft and your hobby and your passion. Like, I really believe that for people. And, you know, you don't get that overnight. You get that through the course of a journey.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, again, peeling back the layers to go, when you look at the value that dance has to offer you, it's so much deeper. And you got to bring the nuance out and say, like, these are all the aspects your kid is learning through this process. Mm-hmm. And so you might see 2.5 minutes on stage for a dance, but what you don't see is months or years. Yeah.
And the patience,
yeah,
and the resilience and the courage, you know, all of these things that really develop with your dancer. It's pretty amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is awesome, Nicole. So, you know, kind of moving into now as, you know, adult teacher.
Yeah.
Any other advice you'd give to yourself? Ooh, teenage self, Nicole.
Think on that one.
Because think on that for a second.
Yeah.
You know, having grown up through the process now, you see things in a different light. But for kids that are maybe starting out, you know, just beginning to dance, what's something that you could add to that?
I think for sure to put yourself out there and to not get so much in your mind of what other people are thinking of you. And I think, you know, we touched on that a little bit earlier in this podcast, but I think that's really crucial for dancers who are newer to dance, because it can be overwhelming when you enter an environment, any environment for that matter, that's you're not comfortable with, or you don't understand, or it's new. But it's how do you turn that, maybe some of that anxiety or that, you know, nervousness towards something to, okay, excitement, you know, this is new. Like, I get to learn something that I don't already know, and to grow and have fun in a different way. So I think I would say to approach things with a little bit less of like, oh, well, what if it goes wrong? Or what if, you know, and to just kind of go for it and put yourself in the movement. And then I think also just to remember to stay present and to have fun while you're doing it, because really those are some of my best memories have been as a childhood, in my childhood, when I looked around at my friends and we learned a new combo and we got it, and, you know, or someone nailed something across the floor, or we were at a convention and we were dancing all day and then hanging out in the lobby, like whatever it is. I mean, there's so much fun to be had in dance too. And the fun, it can keep you going in it, you know, like, you know, if it's all super serious all the time, it's easy to get burnt out. And I know many dancers, and I've experienced, you know, parts of my life with burnout as well. And so something I would say is to like pace yourself, have fun along the way, you know, enjoy it, and to just like, I don't know, just give it your all, and don't look back and don't compare. That's some of my best advice I'd give myself, because there are times I'm like, man, I really could have done that. Why was I holding myself back, you know? But as a teen, you know, you're very conscious of how you are in a, you know, with your peers and other people around you. So I would say, like, don't worry about that so much. When you get older, you'll recognize.
Awesome.
You know, it's helpful to work with your peers and to like work as a team, but it's also good to recognize, like, hey, like, you don't have to worry about every single person and what they might think of you, you know?
Yeah. No, I love it.
It's your journey, right?
We get back to your journey. So, well, I appreciate it. I love that you're able to stop by and give a little bit of your time today. So thank you. Thank you for this. And dancers, you heard it from Miss Nicole. Aww. Get out there and give it your all in 2023. Yes. And let's go see the best version you got to offer.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Awesome. Well, that concludes today's episode of the Dance Studio Network podcast with Nicole Chatham. Thank you for joining us today. And until next time, keep on discovering the artists within. I'm your host, Jonathan Chatham.